and welcome to the latest episode of the Dram Show with me, Chris Goodrum. Right, after last week's sort of diversion into blends, we'll get back to single malt whiskies again this week. And what better single malt whisky to look at than Kilchoman? As you know, I'm a big fan of Kilchoman. I really like what they're doing, and it's always exciting when the next batch of releases comes out. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to both Gordon MacPhail and Kilchoman Distillery for the samples for this afternoon's episode of the show, and it's just always nice to kind of catch up with the new releases. I mean, Kilchoman, as you know, has got quite a sort of cult following now. I mean, it's probably maybe not quite the cult following that Ardbeg has, but it certainly has a lot of devotees. And certainly when the Loch Gorm, the sherry matured bottling that they do comes out, it just goes almost instantaneously. And yeah, so it just goes to show that you know, a lot of people really like the whiskey coming from Kilchoman. So I think I've done a previous episode of the show on Kilchoman, so I'm not going to go waffling through the history of it and all that. Although I will say that bizarrely, can you believe this? Next year Kilchoman will be 10 years old. I mean, you know, it's just 10 years ago. I mean, 2005. I mean, you know, where does the time go? So hopefully they'll be releasing something rather special for the anniversary. I mean, whether that will be on general release or purely for sort of, you know, I don't know, people that maybe sort of signed up to the futures that they did way back in the beginning. I honestly don't know, but you know, if there is some kind of special bottling for it and I can get samples, then hopefully I'll you know, share it with you guys. So anyway, enough of that. Let's introduce this afternoon's lineup. Right, okay, so we'll kick off with the bottling called the 100% Islay. This is the 4th edition of said bottling. It's matured in 100% bourbon oak, some of which is fresh and some of which is refilled. It's bottled at 50%. The hence the title, the 100% Islay. It's basically the barley all comes from the farm and is malted on site and peated, I believe, to a level of around about 25 to 30 parts per million. In fact, about a third of the barley that the distillery uses comes from Islay and the surrounding farms, with the rest being obviously bought in from Port Ellen, which is peated to a higher peating level at 50 parts per million, I think. So so it'll be interesting to see what that one's like. I mean, last year's bottling, I did read some criticism that it was a little bit on the light side, but I personally don't remember it being you know, particularly light. But you know, we will see how that one pans out. Second bottling we're going to be looking at is the 2014 bottling of Machia Bay. Now that's been quite a popular one for a while now in the shop, and it is basically 4 and 5 year old spirit, which is aged in a combination of bourbon barrels and Oloroso butts. Now I do remember the last bottling, the 2013 bottling of Machia Bay, and it was a little bit on the young side. I don't think that there was enough sherry component used to kind of slightly mask that youthfulness. Also, it was, I believe, 4 and 5 year old spirit as well, so the spirits had an extra year of to mature a little bit more. So hopefully we won't get too much of that almost slightly off the still character, which I remember from the 2013 bottling. But you know, we'll see how we go. And finally, we'll be looking at the 100% Oloroso sherry matured Loch Gorm. I believe the spirit in this is about 4 and 5 year old spirit, bottled at 40%, and this is the 2nd edition of said whiskey. And I remember last year's bottling was absolutely fantastic, and it, like I said, it seems to me that you guys can't get enough of it, because as soon as I get hold of stock, it just goes, you know, literally. So yes, this will be nice, nice little tasting. I will say all three of them are in stock, so I think that pretty much tells you all you need to know about the quality of these bottlings. And I think there's one bottle of the Loch Gorm left out of the allocation I managed to get hold of. So if you haven't had a bottle of it yet and you really want it, then you know, be quick. I think is the saying. So anyway, enough of that. Let's kick off with the 100% Islay. Right, okay, so 100% Islay. Let's see what the nose gives us then. That's fresh. That's intense. Really briny. It's got some nice sawdusty barley. Little bit of sort of sweetness, sort of sugary sweetness to the barley as well. Now remember, I think it was last year's bottling that had a more of a sort of an ardbeggy burnt wood kind of character. This reminds me a little bit more of old school fresh coal Islay with that freshness, obviously. Little bit of violets, wonderfully dusty, really dusty. I think a little bit's obviously coming from the oak, but obviously the barley is supplying that bit of dustiness as well. Gently phenolic, not hugely peated. The peat is definitely there, but it's not like it's the main focus of attention. It's all really harmonious, really nice. It's got a nice weight to the aromas, so it certainly doesn't feel underpowered. Earthy, the earthiness is really coming through now, with a sort of earthy peat kind of character. Not getting very much in that sort of ardbeggy burnt wood that I remember from the previous bottling. Like I said, it's definitely more in the kind of the coal Islay-ish kind of mode, with that lovely sort of citrus freshness. Power. Again, kicks off with a sort of slightly sugary sweet barley, more oak character on the palate, creamy, vanillins, soft, and then you get this kind of sooty, tarry peat smoke coming through on the mid palate. A little bit of salt, a little bit of phenolic-y peat. Again, sort of tarry, quite chewy, malty. Finish is really long, really impressive. I mean, when you think about it, it's, you know, yeah, the spirit is, well, it was distilled in 2009 and 2010, so, you know, there you go. So it's 4 and 5 year old spirit, and it just has so much character. I mean, I remember tasting the new make from the when they first released it in about 2005, 2006, I think, when I tasted it. And being really impressed with just the new make, and it just goes to show how really drinkable this is at a young age. Lovely finish, excellent bottle. Right, okay, and progressing on to the Machia Bay. Like I said, it's 5 and 6 year old spirit, a combination of both bourbon and sherry cask, and as you can see, not a huge amount of input from the Oloroso sherry cask with regards to the colour, and that's what I kind of liked about. I mean, when you compare it with wholly aged in Oloroso casks, again, you know, not a huge amount of colour. I mean, slight darker colour to the Loch Gorm, and I liked the fact that judicious use of sherry has never overpowered the spirit character, and always added, certainly with when it was quite young, it added a little bit of richness, a little bit of substance, should we say. Not to say that the spirit was lacking in anything. I just think it was just, you know, really well done. So anyway, let's see what this year's bottling of Machia Bay gives us. More peat, more astringent coastal notes, really intense, very briny, manure-y. That's a wonderful Islay nose. Not spirity. I'm not getting any off the still notes whatsoever. There's a little bit of sherry in the background. It adds a little bit of dried fruit. Again, just kind of, you know, just sitting there, subtly adding a bit of weight. But the majority, the prominent aromas are the peat, the salinity, a little bit of American oak, a little bit of violet. Really focused, really intense. Oh, it's just a lovely nose. I mean, you know, assuming that you love Islay malts and you love your peated malts, you know, this is absolutely fantastic. Well, really nice weight to the palate. Kind of kicks off with both a really nice sort of balance of creamy American oak and a little bit of dried sherry fruit. Tarry, briny peat coming through on the middle. Again, really lingers. The sort of peat kind of sort of like builds on the mid palate and just carries on going sort of throughout to the finish. A little bit of spiciness, lots of coastal character, lots of citrus, really bracing finish to it. And again, the sherry is kind of like just there in the background, just adding a little bit of dried fruit, a little bit of richness. It doesn't sort of impinge on the wonderful sort of manure-y, stinky, peaty kind of character, which is just what you want. And again, you know, for 5 or 6 year old spirit, it's got a, you know, a lovely intensity, a good depth and complexity. It's certainly not one dimensional. It's not all just about the peat. There are sort of, you know, the other characteristics coming through as well, including sort of like a bit of barley, a bit of maltiness, certainly on the aftertaste. So yeah, another really very good bottling. So yeah, like that. That's impressive. Okay, so finally the Loch Gorm again. So aged 100% Oloroso, 4 and 5 year old spirit, and what was it, bottled at 46%. So let's see what those gives us on this then. More sherry character, obviously, but again, it's not blanketing sherry in, say, the manner of some Speyside distilleries. It's got a lovely fragrance to it, aromatic, again quite manure-y, pungent peat, brine, sweet dried fruits, a little bit of barley. That is really complex for such a young spirit. A little bit of dusty peat coming through now, a bit of peat smoke. But that sherry has just such a lovely perfumed character to it, and it just, I mean, it's just so clean. Not an off note there. No off notes from the cask or the spirit itself. I mean, that is absolutely fantastic. And you know, I think that is just absolute class in the glass. You know, when it comes down to it, like I said, it's all really harmonious and balanced. And I know I bang on and on and on and on and on about balance, but that's what I want. You know, I want to sort of like, I want the characteristic of the malt, I want a bit of input from the oak. You know, I don't just want sort of one thing or the other. And that just has exactly what I want from a whiskey. Palate. it's so soft and long. Oh, that is just delightful finish. Again, I'm getting sultanas, I'm getting raisins, but I'm not getting that big, juicy, moist, fruitcakey kind of sherry, which is good. It's subtle. It's a subtle dried fruit, which leaves the barley coming through, the sort of sooty, slightly tarry peat, and that lovely coastal, fresh, intense finish. And again, it's just all really harmonious, really well balanced, very, very long, and just absolutely spot on, I think. So yeah, another great bottling from Kilchoman. So so there you have it. That's good. Right, okay, so let's sum this little tasting up then. Kilchoman, it's really good. I mean, I love Kilchoman. I really love. I don't think they've. All right, yeah, maybe one or two of their bottlings haven't been quite up to the overall standard of what they're producing, but you know, everybody's entitled to sort of to that kind of thing. I think when you look at their range overall, it is very, very impressive, and I can't emphasize that enough. I love the attitude. I love the fact that you know you don't hear that much about them being outspoken and independent and yada yada yada, you know, and they just quietly get on with the job, distill the whiskey, bottle it, get it out, and what they're bottling is absolutely superb. I mean, I love the 100% Islay. I mean, it has Islay stamped all the way through it. You know, it's not hugely peated. It's got a good level of peat. It's harmonious. It's balanced, and it's, you know, just all very, very nice. The Machia Bay, like I said, I think that's a big improvement upon last year's bottling. Again, the use of sherry is very subtle, and just adds a little bit of weight. Excuse me, a little bit higher peating level than the 100% Islay, but again, really very, very good. And the Loch Gorm, I mean, for a wholly sherry matured malt, I'm guessing they probably use refill Oloroso casks. I can't believe that. I mean, you know, first fill Oloroso would be a lot darker than that, even after sort of like 4 or 5 years. So again, you know, they've got some very, very good casks, and again, it's a lovely malt. So that's pretty much about it. I think, if, like I said, if you've not actually tasted Kilchoman yet, considering it's almost been around for 10 years, then, and you love your Islas, then really you should do so, because it is just, you know, amazing. And the amount of people that still not heard of the distillery, even though they like their Islay whiskies, I think is well, not criminal, but it's just a bit sad. So I mean, yeah, I push it a lot because I love it, and I want people to taste it, and I want people to basically go, yeah, there is another distillery on Islay that's producing great whiskey. So there you have it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the show, and I hope if you've you know, never tasted Kilchoman before, that you certainly will give it a shot, because, you know, like I said, if you love this type of whiskey, you will not be disappointed. And like I said, each year I always look forward to the new releases that they bring out. So so there you have it. That's about it for today, really. So all that's left to say is good afternoon and good running.